Go ahead. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next up, we have township assistance.
Township assistance has been pretty steady comparative to the other months of the year. We did 17 interviews with 4 approvals and 12 denials. Any questions about the numbers for township assistance? I tried to find where I used, there we go.
No.
I do have one question.
Sure.
The report, the second half of that page, that has February, is that?
Oh, no, I just didn't change it.
Okay,
That should be March.
that
Yes,
is March.
those are updated March
Okay.
numbers, yes.
But then it's the year to date, the
The
numbers are
year-to-dates are
right,
correct.
the heading is wrong.
Yep, as
Okay,
of March
no problem.
21st, yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
Human resources.
Human Resources is starting to ramp up with the opening of the pools and all the summer fun activities going on at the parks. There were 6 new hires for March and 4 termination and resignations for the month. Any questions about Human Resources?
Oh, yep.
Not about human resources,
Sure.
it's those other duties as assigned.
Okay,
The cemetery that's at 100 South and Avon Avenue,
mhm,
the split rail fence around it needs some
yes,
attention.
yes.
We had a tree come down on that recently, and so,
I-
yeah, we're
It looked like it had some damage to it, but I didn't know.
Not this past storm we had, but I think a couple back, a tree fell. Didn't do any damage to the headstones, but did take out part of it. We got the tree cleaned. Well, somebody cleaned the tree up. We hired a company to do it, and they went out there and they're like, it's gone. Like, okay, thanks.
Somebody wanted free
So
firewood.
somebody took care of it, and we're thankful for that. We didn't have to
Was it,
spend.
was Parks? Okay.
Chris told me he didn't know who it was.
No, you definitely did not.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so apparently we took care of it internally.
All right,
But yes, there's that one. We'll probably, maybe in the next month or so, go around and see what other ones need.
I know it's
Fix, there was
probably a
some-
little early for the mowing to start and all the normal maintenance
Yeah.
that those guys take care of,
I
but.
think the mowing is supposed to start this week of them. We contract the mowing out of the cemeteries. Our
Oh.
Parks Department doesn't do that.
Oh,
And they were gonna start mid-April instead of last year. They started in May, trying to get ahead of it before the grass really took off for the season, so.
With the last big storm, we did have another tree that came down in Abner Creek Cemetery.
Okay,
It took out part of the new chain link fence that we had put in a year or so ago. It did not hit any of the headstones. It actually landed perfectly in line, parallel, in between 2 rows of headstones, which is optimal.
yeah,
So the tree's been removed again, thanks to the Parks Department's maintenance staff. And then we've already contracted with our fence company. He's already given us a quote, which was very reasonable for the repair of the fence. So that'll also be happening.
okay, great,
All right,
good,
thank you.
thank you.
Parks.
All right. So we were very fortunate to have that warm snap that we got in March because we got started on a lot of things at the pool and then also out on the grounds. We are finished hiring for concessions. We did put a call out for some new lifeguards. We had about 12 positions, but we got way more than that in. So we've kind of slowed that down at this time, and Liz is hiring her final lifeguards. And then now that spring break is over, we're going to be training the new lifeguards. We've already been doing recertifications. And then we have an official day that we're opening. May 17th will be our pop-up pool party that we're doing. And then we'll open that following weekend officially on Memorial Day weekend. Then as we get to PCAR, our field trips are ramping up, and we've done some capital projects out there. We've got all the stone laid at the campground, and we fixed all the signs at the campground. We will be adding our campground rules and then also our maps that we did with J2. And then we are working to schedule a controlled burn at our prairie next spring. And so we will need to burn all of our prairie grass in order to have it thrive and grow back up. So we've already contacted the fire department, the police department, and the town of Avon just to start talking about what that permitting looks like. They already have a policy for prescribed burns, so it makes it really easy for us. So we are going to be doing a marketing campaign leading up to that and sending out letters to our neighbors as well. And we get all that information from DNR, and we will be hiring a professional to do that. They have certain limitations of wind speed, temperature, all of that stuff that they look into. And it's the same people that do McLeod Nature Center.
So what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I noticed that they
that's all he
had
does.
one in the last, couple, 3 weeks or so.
Yes, and if you see, it got rescheduled 4 times because of the wind speed. So there are several rain dates.
I didn't know there were that many, but I
Yeah.
saw that it there were multiple.
Yes.
Do we have to do permitting through DNR, or is that?
No, we don't need permits through DNR. We do not need any permits through the state. We reached out to the town. We don't need permits through the town, but they've asked us to keep in constant communication with them about it because they'll get phone calls about it as well. So as we get closer, we're going to be sending them all the information that we need. But again, we can't do it until next spring. He's booked all the way till the end of the year this
Right.
year.
Okay.
That's all he does. He has a whole crew that comes out and does that all year round. And then for programs, we've been celebrating Easter. So we had Sensory Easter 2 weekends ago. This past weekend, we had our annual Kegs and Eggs event, which is our adult Easter egg hunt, which was very fun. A lot of people had a good time. And then we have our kids' Easter egg hunts this weekend. You'll see some social media coming out with the Easter Bunny. But that will be a rain or shine event. I know it's like 69% rain, but it's rain or shine, then people will still come. And so we've officially booked all of our concerts for the year. We have 2 at the pool and 2 at the amphitheater, including the one on May 4th, which is a food truck festival. And then it's also themed for Star Wars. And so we have several vendors coming and several reenactors that are coming to that too. As far as our capital projects, we are almost done with the Explorer barn. Right now, we're just waiting on the stone driveway. Once we get that stone driveway, we're going to be going to the town to get our occupancy. But so far, we haven't seen any issues with that. We've been in constant contact with Mike and Levi. And then we've been de-winterizing all of our small motors. We've already started mowing. We're hitting mowing really hard this week. And then right now we are fixing a lot of the storm damage. We didn't have too much damage. It's mostly fallen trees. We did have a leaky roof at the water park, but RL Turner's covering all of that maintenance. Then when we get to youth services for our camp is going really well. Our numbers are amazing. They're better than last year. So we're really happy with our camp numbers. We're hiring camp counselors these next 3 weeks and going through interviews, but we have very little counselors that we need to hire in total. Between all 5 camps, we only need to hire 10 people. So we're excited about that. For youth services, we have sent out another survey to the parents just to double check on the redistricting for next year. We will be providing to more schools next year, so we will be doing a little bit more hiring in the month of July. And that's because we've had a lot of parents requesting that first year in middle school, something similar to what we do at intermediate school, a little bit more scaled down. But if you think about it, 7th grade for some parents still is a little young to keep their kids home. So we're just trying to get ahead of that. We've had several parents ask about it. We've had the school ask about it. So we're going to be providing that at the middle school as well. Other than that, revenue is looking really good for us right now. It's pretty close to last year as far as Murphy goes. We are up in our Murphy revenue. But do you guys have any questions for me about anything? All right, thank you.
All right, fire.
Welcome back, Jeff. I'm missing when he's out of town, our weekly phone calls. Or daily, or
Weekly if we're slow.
all right, a couple things not on there. We are merit, that's done. Jeff did come to that meeting with us to answer any questions the board may have. They had some pretty good questions about how things were gonna work, how they would get legal representation during any kind of disciplinary hearing. We assured them that we would work that process out and keep neutrality within the system. They were good with their answers there. The board's Eva Yaki, Tom Downer, John McDavid, Joe Pritchett, and Lee Dorsey. At that meeting, we also approved lateral hires, paramedic process, and officer process. So got them off and running. So we established the system, adopted the rules, and did business. So I think it's gonna be a good group. They're pretty excited. And for Eva Yaki and her late husband, that was a big push for him. He was instrumental in it with the town of Avon for the police department. So that was a big emotional moment for her as well. So he wanted to see that through. It was one of the first things he brought up to me after I shook his hand, is that when we're going to come merit. We did. He was just wasn't able to see it through, but his wife stepped up and accepted the position and saw it through for him. So again, appreciate them and the work they've done along with the rest of the board. Thank you, Jeff, for being present. Ladder 144 is officially in service. You may have been seeing a different looking ladder truck running down the road without a bucket on the front. So each of them serve their purposes, and it also helps us with controlling our own mutual aid and what we need from neighboring departments, makes us more self-sufficient. We've already seen that starting to pay off. With that, we promoted 3 officers and 3 engineers for staffing. We're still 1 light. We just did a chauffeur process and promoted 1 out of that, Brandon Fisher. He's going to be going to A shift, ladder 144, and we still need 1 for C shift. We have some trainings going on. You'll see as we move on down the list here in a little bit. In training, we're doing an aerial class in-house, and we'll do another process and may call that to order at the end of the month or sometime in the future to get that going to permanently fill that position as well. In the meantime, with all the training we've done and the things we've talked about over the last couple of years, we're fine and self-sufficient. The carts we purchased, they have lighting packages installed. They've been on some runs lately. At the conclusion of Station 145, we'll have the run string implementation plan, some ideas on staging and so on and so forth. Till then, they're supporting the support services building, and they are dispatched or called out on an as-needed basis as determined by operations of the battalion chief. Station 143 construction's concluded. They're moved in. We have a few projects, heaters in the bay that still have to be completed. They're hung up. They're just not tied in the gas. Is that correct? Then the steel countertops came in. They were a little bit of a mess. They were a lot of a mess. Even the manufacturer didn't want them installed. So not sure where they were delivered. Maybe didn't lay eyes on them beforehand. But anyway, we have temporary countertops in. The permanent ones are forthcoming. They're backward by a few weeks. Should be coming in anytime in the next couple of weeks. Our main focus has been on Senate Bill 1 and the potential impact on Washington Township. I'm going to say that's been our 1B focus. 1A has been Station 5 and some of the fiasco there. That's probably left best outside of the public meeting, but it's moving forward. It's not bad, but the West Central Conservancy issues, a few surprises here and there. I don't detail too much here, but we probably could have saved some dollars and had some better vetting by our surveyors, but I don't know who's to blame on that. We're still looking into it, and I'll report more later whenever I have more, but it's been a real pain lately. But we'll work through it and we'll figure it out. Senate Bill 1 on 1B, the impact on Washington Township. We were down at the House. What I'll say about that right now is we're still exploring the impact. I've talked about on the things that may affect us. I've talked to Jeff Peters at length on what it's going to look like in the future. It looks like we're going to stay pretty flat between now and 26. There'll be a significant bump going into 27 in revenue. There'll be another flat spot going into 28. See that right? 5 to 6 flat, 6 to 7 a bump.
With property taxes, yeah.
With property tax. Now, lit is the unknown. That was a topic this morning at the GOP breakfast. They had the president of the county council and president of the county commission there talking. There's a lot of unknowns for them on that. There's a lot of unknowns for us. Lit now is going to be put on local government. They have all their percentages and calculations. I won't bore you with those details right now because I want to be precise when we talk about them. But where we survive on lit, instead of it being awarded based on our draws, it'll now be awarded based on need and your ability to demonstrate need, which is fine. We have our plans, we have our financial plans, we have our capital improvement plans. That's not required by the DLGF of the township. We're prepared to give all that. Have no doubt in our team and the work we've done that now we just hand over the reports that are already made and we move forward. But there are some places it's going to hurt throughout the state. They're going to see the repercussions of it. The issues that you're hearing on TV with the schools, I can't speak for, but with public safety around the state, those are real impacts. And they'll have impacts here. I don't worry immediately about it having an impact as far as personnel that we have now. I think it has I know it has an impact on our personnel as we move forward. They've taken away the vehicles to do the look backs. They've taken away any kind of levy appeals, all that kind of stuff, and the tools. They're going to put a little bit more controls on funding and bonding, and some of the decisions could affect ratings. That was talked about today at the county council meeting, as far as our bond ratings and the ability to have cash, along with another bill on roads and how that affects cash on the township. A lot of moving parts, a lot of unknowns. As far as our personnel, we're good where we're at, and I feel pretty good about where that's heading as far as retention. You hear things about cuts. I would say cuts are real in our county in that our plans and what we want to do, it cuts the ability to do that on the front end, on what we're looking at, the assumptions we can make. But based on the reality, we'll wait and see what lit does. The county's going to have to be prepared to make some decisions. What I ask from you all, and I talked to Ryan and Ashley today, is be present. If there's a county council meeting you can make as we move forward and have information, be present. You know, we started moving that way. Chief Phipps gone to some county commission meetings in the past, the last couple of months. Now we know the county is going to be the decision maker on with Senate Bill 1. They're just pushing the game locally, which is fine. But for us to get our lit, it's got to be approved every year. You demonstrate the need, population, coverage area, so on and so forth. We need to be aware, we need to be educated, and we need to stand together on things. We have some speaking engagements that may be coming forward where we can talk about this and demonstrate our planning. I think that's going to be good for our township and our department to show that we've been proactive, knowing things are coming, but at the same time, as we present, I ask that you all support, and that's all I can ask, and be present when you can. We were at the State House. Whenever I bring up indecisive language, I said that on the news. They think they know how things are going to work. They assume they're going to work. They can't use any committal language because nobody really knows, even the people who wrote the laws. I've been in contact with no less than, I guess, 10 different senators and representatives from both sides of the aisle. We sent an email. I think I copied all three of you in on at least the message I sent there. Some of that language was based on conversation, largely in conversation with Jeff Peters. So I didn't write it blindly. A little bit of conversation with Bellamy on notes that I had taken and different conversations we had. But again, it's the real 10,000 foot view of where we know we're headed, and then we'll have to drill that down a little bit. The legislators have been largely supportive, lip service, and that's where I'll leave that because their votes didn't show us that. Fire training, I want to skip some of it. You guys can read that and see what we've done. But as far as recruits, our recruits are now probationary firefighters. They're working through the new hire book. We have over 10 cleared last month. No, more than that now. I had 10 cleared, a couple in process, and a few more still collecting runs. Mm-hmm. Okay. So out of the 15, 10 of them were fully cleared by the hospital and operating independently and just working as probationary. A couple of them are in process being reviewed by the hospital. A few more still gathering their runs. Our FTOs have been working hard. We put that program in about a year and a half, I guess, into us coming in. And that process has worked out really well. And they've been putting in a lot of work lately, especially with our recruits, our medic students, and also the people that are riding out with us. Outside training requests, as I mentioned earlier on the ladders, we are putting an aerial class on in-house. PFFUI Honor Guard, that's going on next week, trying to rebuild our honor guard here. We've had people on it before, it's kind of fizzled away, bringing it back. Just pride in the department and self-sufficiency. We're going to be attending a mock funeral probably next Friday, I think it is. Some collapse training, trench training, swiftwater rescue, South Bend, and electric vehicle training for those that didn't get it the first time around. Again, just making our people more marketable. Moving to the training grounds, under that, you see that we had a welder acquired weld panels in the gaps. It's just finishing the construction on some design flaws. And Chief Porter had a vision of some things he wanted done. We had a person that needed to do some community service hours. They happen to have a really good talent. They're certified in their craft. So they did maintenance on the training ground for their hours, and we benefited. So we wrote up a release for them through legal and made sure we covered there, and they did a really good job. Meetings and conferences on the 28th, we went down to Martinsville to see some of their facilities and what they have. Again, just reaching out to other departments. We have answers everywhere on how we can be better. We had some familiarity down there, met their fire chief, went around their area, saw the training grounds through their firehouse, and just getting ideas and seeing how other people do things, whether they're larger than us or smaller than us. Everybody's still going through the same growth and challenges. Under EMS training, medics working on PALS, the certification month. They'll be finishing that up in April. The skills checkoffs, FTOs are finishing up glucometer checks for the training department, or for the rest of the department, and training our staff on that. We've been working on affiliation requirements, like I said earlier. We have 11 of the 15 cleared, instead of 10. And then we have a medic starting on 3/31, and then we have another one that just accepted their conditional offer. So that will get us over to after fire investigations, the overtime report. But under fire investigations, we're still -1 in that area. They're keeping things going on. Division note, the second point, investigators attended the firearms training, stop the bleed training. They hosted a Hendricks County Prosecutor's Office for an ongoing county investigations training. And again, that's going to lead to a bigger hands-on event out the training grounds with our burn cans. We had PD in here, other departments, other counties, and our prosecutor's office going through some case laws. And this next training we put on is going to be a much longer event where our people are going to actually not only investigate a burn on the training grounds, but also go through some litigation and have that kind of practice as well. So I appreciate what Levi's doing there. Pub Ed, you guys can read that, but down at the PIO event, you had a hosted promotional ceremony for the ladder 144 push-in. So thank you for those of you who showed up for that. We're also invited to a 3-day live fire training hosted by Danville. So working with our mutual aid departments and training alongside them in a burn house. On the last page, and then I want to bring Chief Weiniger up for just a moment. On the last page here, the run stats, we are 119 up from 2024 at this time with 2,130 runs. A position to note, as you guys go through the annual report and you see our run totals in the back of the book, that 2,000 runs that we're at already at the end of March, that was the year 2000 for the whole year. We're already surpassing that. So that gives you an idea of growth. And I didn't really realize the growth till we went to speak for the Danville Fire Territory meeting, and we talked about where we've been, where we're going, which is also, by the way, the theme for our banquet coming up. But you look at the history. Danville's grown 105%. That's a big number. We've grown over 285% as far as run volume goes, and over 150% of that has been since the 2010, 2015 timeframe till now. So again, exponential growth. And looking at where we're at now, Chief Porter and I were talking about it, at the end of March, we're hitting where we hired in. That was our annual totals. And, we had the opportunity to look at a couple of pictures and some before and afters that we'll have later. But 1995, we had a guy retired document his last day. And he shot eastbound and westbound down 36. And then we have current pictures. We just had the ladder crew shoot the other day. And some of those changes, when you look at the details, are pretty remarkable outside of just the skyscape is, kind of the same. But when you drill down and look where there were trees, there's buildings, and we know it's all changed. But again, that's not only changed there, but it's changed from the demands on on our department. Overtime, I said, with our medics that we just hired, you look at our overtime numbers up a little bit, not astronomical compared to years past, but, you know, in months past, it's a little higher. 388 of that is for paramedic staffing. We've been -2 for a while. One is right now on the streets being cleared. We have another one, like I said, that just accepted their offer today. So again, that number, we should look for that 388 to come down and put us back down in a more reasonable plus or minus 500 range. Plus you had spring break and so on and so forth. So we've had some time off. I think after this, we go into the financial reports from EMS. Is that what's next in line here? Chief Weininger, Chief Phipps, we're just on a conference call getting educated. We may have some more clarification on that if Chief Weininger would like to speak to it. I was not on the call, so I am not educated on it.
So
For your question, you guys have it.
this is the monthly report that the billing company sends us. This first part here is date of service. They said these are rolling numbers. The one that you may be more interested in is the very last page. But as you look at these, you can kind of see where it talks about, we started with them in November, which that was like a low because we were just getting things rolling. So then you'll see this bump in December. So what's happening here is every time that they start collecting money or insurance starts paying, it goes back into that month. So that's why every time you look at this each month, like November's like, well, why was it really small? And then now November shows bigger. It's because they're adding to that. So that way they can show those are what's on each month. And then of course you have your gross charges, is what we automatically charge based on those billing rates that we have. And then the contractual allowances are basically what we can only charge to Medicare and Medicaid. Those are the only ones that we are governmentally contracted with, that we have to only charge what they allow. So then that gives you your net charges. Net charges will go to the patient or to their secondary insurance, or they go to the primary insurance, whatever. If they have personal insurance, it goes there. And then you kind of see the payment. So that's why that's like a rolling number, and it kind of looks different every month. So as you go down on each of those, it just kind of again tells you like how much Medicare, then it goes into each of the different insurance companies and those rolling balance. And whenever it says data service, those are rolling, it's based on the data service. So you can kind of see, so next month when you go look at it, you'll be like, oh, hey, January is a little different because we got some payments in from insurance companies in January. The last page, she said, was the one that you would be most interested in is, keep going down. There it is, perfect, that one. That one tells you more exactly what it is, because you'll see at the ending accounts receivable, that is, it'll have your beginning, your gross charges, contract allowance, and then it stays the same. So that's more to point on each month. So, and we can bill, there's a law that we are allowed as ground transports to bill 400% over what Medicare and Medicaid charge. And that's what we talked about the last part of the year. Mm-hmm. We decided not to do that. We're not going to bill the max. We did rate comparisons to people around us. A couple of comparable departments that are us, they were currently charging 278%. We settled on about 275. That's what you guys, so we're right there.
Also on these numbers, keep in mind, Medville still has some outstanding bills, and we're letting them collect on those because of the working process with them.
Right. So we still get a little bit from Medville, and are still making payments for their processing those claims and stuff. And then they've still got some in collections that they're trying to weed down. Any questions? Hopefully that makes a little better sense then.
Any questions for fire stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Old business, FDIC.
So we talked last month that the FDIC show was coming up. It was this last week. As we have talked previously, it is the largest fire department conference in the world. And you have the best of the best instructors that come into the city of Indianapolis to share their knowledge and their expertise in the field. I'm happy to say I was down there all week, but I am happy to report that Chief Huff, as an example, he was an instructor on Monday and Tuesday. They do what they call hot classes, which is hands-on training. They're actually out doing practical application training. So they're not just sitting in the convention center watching a PowerPoint presentation. They're out there wearing the gear, doing the job, and they set up some of the most complex scenarios you can imagine for these trainings. Chief Huff, our training chief, was out there as an instructor for the hot classes. So super proud of the fact that he's out there again with some of the best out there sharing knowledge about the craft. So that's great. Throughout the week, I saw a large number of our membership at different parts of the conference, either on the trade show floor, coming and going to some of the different classroom sessions, and then I saw them at some of the social events as well. So it was a great week of education and camaraderie, which is good for all of us. So I am thankful for the participation that everybody did have. Hopefully everybody was able to get down there at some point. Yeah, it was a good show. So just want to give you that update on that.
Transportation van.
I am happy to report that as of this afternoon, a bill of sales was emailed over to the hospital foundation. So I'm waiting for them to review that document. Assuming that they're going to agree with everything that was written in that bill of sale, we should be able to execute that bill of sale on their end as well as on ours. And then we will exchange a check for some keys and a title. So the end is near. Don't know the exact date of when that's going to be, but certainly all signs are pointing to the fact that this will be able to conclude this deal very soon. So.
Very good. Any questions on?
No.
Okay. New business, fire department awards banquet.
Not this weekend, but next weekend, 26th, is that right?
26th, yeah.
26th is the Fire Department Awards Banquet. I believe you've all seen invitations and been getting some emails if you've RSVP'd for that. So that should be a good social event as well as an opportunity for us to recognize the hard work of the men and women of our fire department. So do hope to see you all there if you're able to make it. Should be a nice evening.
Any questions on it?
No.
Okay, looks like we got next up, resolution 041525-01, 2024 paid 401A retirement resolution. Sorry, I knew I was gonna screw up something. I thought it'd be A, I was gonna say something else. 401A contribution resolution.
So this is just the resolution approving us to pay into the 401A of the participants for 24, we pay a year behind. So total is $352,893.18 for everyone, and then you have a list of it broken down in there as well by participants.
Any questions? Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, we just need a motion to approve said resolution.
I move we adopt resolution 041525-01, authorizing the 2024 A25 401A contribution.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Done. Next up, we have resolution 041525-02, Station 142, conditional land purchase.
So as we've talked before, we are looking at a piece of property for the potential move or relocation of Station 142. That agreement that we signed several months ago gave us the availability to do, help me out with the words, Bob.
Phase one and borings and making sure we can get it.
To make sure the property was going to be adequate to even have a building on. That agreement had an end date of early May, is that right? So before our next meeting is when that original agreement is set to expire. So as you saw in your packet, we did get the appraisals done for the property. Both appraisals, the numbers were very similar when we're looking at numbers that size. They were very close together, which I guess is a good thing. And then the initial just gentleman's agreement dollar amount that we've discussed with the seller is actually lower than the appraisals came in for. Not by a lot, but better than being higher, right? So what we're looking for at this point, we're kind of getting to a place where here in the next couple of weeks, as that initial agreement expires, we don't want to lose the opportunity for that property. So what I was going to be asking for today was approval from the board, assuming that now that we've got the appraisals in, now that we know that the property is going to be useful for us to continue having conversations with the seller and to be able to execute the purchase of that property. Assuming that you would agree to that today, I can also let you know that we have documentation from Peter's firm that gives everything that we need to advertise for an additional appropriation that we'll be bringing to this board for our May meeting, assuming that this moves forward after today. We do have the money available. The additional appropriation is going to include not only the land purchase, there's an apparatus purchase in there, as well as, if you'll remember back in the, I believe, January meeting, we had some money from the transportation van program last year that rolled into this year. So we want to, while we're doing the appropriation, we're going to go ahead and even that account back out with the additional appropriation as well. Again, you will have all of this information in your packet next month, assuming that we do in fact move forward with this land purchase with this resolution today. Any questions, or more importantly, anything that I'm missing in regard to the property and where we are right now? Obviously, we are very mindful of Senate Bill 1 and the potential of what the future is going to have in store for us. We have money in the bank to purchase this land outright with cash. My opinion, property is not a bad investment here in our area. My fear is if we don't move on this property now, they're going to continue to try to sell this property. I don't want to lose that opportunity. All signs are pointing to the fact that, yes, we do want to move that station. If something happens and funding continues to be questioned up in the air, sitting on properties not going to be a huge expense for the township. I want to build on that property. If we're not able to build on that property, then we would look at selling it into the future. I don't know that the land value would decrease any, but I'm not an expert in that field. But certainly we are trying to be mindful of that when we have so much uncertainty at the state level. But I do feel very comfortable, as well as talking with the experts that we hire, feel comfortable with this purchase and going forward with it.
Can I add or no?
Yeah, if you have something.
The good part about this property is, one, it's been studied, and it is an appropriately located piece of property. Going any further south kind of puts us too far into the south area that we need to be, and staying where we're at with the road cut for north and south is something that I know Chief Porter put on the radar and maybe even had on the map early on before he came here, as far as looking at relocation and all that. So this particular piece, where it's located across the apartment with the north-south road cut already there, no exceptions we need to ask for, anything else. It's a strategic piece of land as well. And regardless of what budgets are, unless it hinders our ability to build and our infrastructure, which initially from Peters was everything's fine there, we'll be fine for a while. To build an appropriate firehouse on it, it's not going to require manpower or anything else. This is simply moving people from one location to another to better serve the heavy residential area, but still be able to reach into the commercial area that Ford's encroaches on already with its placement. So it really further legitimizes the location of Ford's by moving twos away from it.
He was asking a question.
I guess, it sounds like, so rather than, if we say, no, we're not interested, then we're kind of locking ourselves into staying where we are with Station 2.
Yeah, so to bring you up to speed, we did a feasibility study, so building a property, we know what that is. We're somewhere between that $8 to $12 million range. We're doing that right now. To rebuild this one 2 years ago, the feasibility study showed that with the issues at Station 2, short of knocking it down and rebuilding it in place, we're around the high five mark.
It's
I
like
think
five,
we came
like
back.
5.8 million, I think, to remodel, that's what they said, because of how many issues and what they would have to do there, plus we'd have to have, that's not including like, temporary housing, or moving the station or doing something on site there, 'cause we don't have anything down that way that we could, move into. And then tearing down to rebuild on the same property, you're as much or more actually, because you gotta tear off and haul off and then redo the same thing. But by relocating to this property, this potential property here, it puts us in a really good location for overlap and everything like that. Plus you can build it, move out of one, move into there, and then we have the other property we could sell and recoup some of our money.
And the stub that's from that neighborhood, I mean, will that be open, there'll be a road for them to connect and get out onto?
There is a gate back there. We would keep that gate in place, but it could be a potential exit there into that neighborhood.
For us, not
Not
as a
for them.
Not for them.
Not a thoroughfare.
So
no. And there's no,
the county won't mandate that stub, that street be completed.
as of right now, for everything I've been told, no, it's not need to be completed. It's just an access. We could use it as an access to cut backside if we need to, but they're not requiring anything to go through there. That's not figured for that. So
He's been in conversation with John Ayers over other things on that property, and none of that's come up as
No,
well,
no.
so.
I asked all those questions on there to make sure that we weren't on that. They're really, the north and south, they don't want them to come through and have an access. They don't want that as a shortcut.
Right.
So,
And I guess, and Ken, all the details, but like the flashing light we have now in Ronald Reagan at Station 2, probably something similar would go there versus an actual traffic signal?
probably more robust, probably more like we have at Station 1.
Oh, okay.
Natural light because of coming over the hill. That's another thing that the town already flagged on that and said, hey, that's one thing you're gonna have to do. You have to have some type of flashing or a light of some sort like that. So it'd be more like Station 1 than it would be just having a small beacon out there.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was what I was at, like in a purchase agreement. So from a legal standpoint, is there a due diligence period in which that kind of stuff where NDOT, just having history with NDOT of a property on Ronald Reagan, that they are really mandated ins and outs and right only, right out, that kind of stuff. I get it would be different for a public safety standpoint, but just making sure we don't purchase something that we can't get the access we need to, or we think we need to.
That's why the property is key, because of the identified plan already has an access north-south
Okay.
in and out of there.
Okay.
It wouldn't require us to put any other cut through across Ronald Reagan. There's already the cut through already exists for us to be able to turn left, just like the same. I mean, obviously the cut through is already there for the apartment complex. We would use that same cut through to be able to go north or south out of our firehouse.
And our entrance would line up with that apartment complex, I would imagine. There's no reason they would want to offset it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
And yeah, I mean, I agree with the property. I just don't know how valuable that property is. It's in a weird spot with a lot of dirt that's, I would guess, it's just weird.
The dirt up front is deceiving. It is a large mound. It's 18 to 20 feet, right?
Right.
But then it comes down and flattens off. I've talked with John Ayers about that. When that dirt was put there was when they did the Ronald Reagan overpass there. They are looking to take some of that dirt out. They're going to use it, try to use it on Dan Johns. Like I say, they're guaranteed to do it. That's what he's looking to do, is move it for the Dan Johns project for that bridge there. So everything I figured in was moving all the dirt if we needed to, worst case scenario, so we had a number. But yeah, he is going to try to get rid of some, at least through the access area there. It wouldn't hurt to have a buffer for sound and some of the other stuff anyways in there. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah, those are my only concerns, is just some wrinkle that gets thrown into access that, while it may have been cut there, it may have been laid out that way, different surveyors, different people make suddenly different rules and we're stuck with something we can't get in and out on.
And I believe that's all in the purchase agreement here. It says as long as we satisfy all that. So we're still gonna satisfy all the needs in here, or you're just looking for it once it's.
No, I
You're
just,
gonna be
yeah,
on.
just,
So,
it's just, I'm sure you guys have, I just have to voice that because
absolutely. No, I get it.
weird stuff happens and.
And that's at phase one and all that stuff. We were making sure that, because there was a couple water, of that 7 acres on the north side, there's a couple acres of it that are, it says alluvial floodplain or some different stuff down through there on that. So we're making sure everything was buildable where we need to build and that there wasn't any of the bad issues or any other goofy stuff that we have out there. For permitting wise, so far nothing's come back on that. Those are not complete. Just like I said, when we get that stuff in, get this here now, we still will complete all those, just at the mercy of all Whitsick is who I contracted out with that to get those done.
Okay.
So, trying to get in to do borings, they ran into, it's kind of a lot of scrub trees and stuff in through there, so they need to bring some equipment in and move some stuff around to be able to get the borings done. So that, set it off a little bit.
And from a utility standpoint, I mean, I think this is gonna be, it has water and Hendricks regional sewer, aqua system.
Aqua sewer, there's sewer on the site, there's a storm drain on the site, there's water, there's, everything's pretty much there, so.
CSX want to give us access for hazardous material issues and that? I'm just kidding, that was a joke.
Yeah, I know.
Don't tell them that, they'll want their,
Well,
they'll want their
no.
trucks to start going through there then.
Yeah, they communicate well. Anyways, do you guys have any other questions? Okay. Just need a motion to approve. If so choose.
Jump right in, Dave.
Okay, I was making sure I had the right one here before I read this off. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 041525-02 regarding the purchase of this land.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any public comment or wishes to be heard? Okay. If not, we'll just need a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is Thursday, May 15th at 3:00 in the same location.
And I will be out of town.
And we will have one member absent.
So it's important that you both show up.
Okay.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned as of 3:48.